Hello all. Um, so over the last couple of months, from around April, I was looking for an internship. I applied to over 50 companies and I got rejected to almost all of them. So today I would like to save you the trouble of making the same mistakes as I did, and also I would like to help you learn from the mistakes I made. Uh, I won't mention the name of the companies that I applied in, but you'll get the general idea of what I did wrong. Uh, so I went from having no place to work to being called back to work in three places in a period of 1 week, and those three places I had applied for in the same day. So maybe you'll take something from here and maybe you'll use it when you're applying. You're also looking for an internship. Uh, so this series will be in three parts. The first part, I'll mention what I did wrong in April, because I applied in April and May and finally got called back in June. So I'll mention what I did wrong in May, and what after reflecting, I'll mention some of the mistakes I did, and yeah. And then the second part, I'll mention the mistakes I did while applying for interviews in May for jobs. Yeah, and then the last part is June and what I learned so far. So from around April, I had known that it was time for me to look for an internship. So, uh, I did send out the first batch of application. I sent out over 20 to over 20 or 25 companies. But unluckily, I was called back to only five places, like interviews, like five interviews only. And those five interviews, uh, I was unlucky, I got none. And in the 20 places I applied for, they were, I think, startups. So I like to share what I did wrong, and maybe, yeah. So the first thing I did wrong was, uh, I wasn't prepared. I was I wasn't prepared to leave. Like, when people tell you that when you have to get ready early, you have to get ready early. Yes, I was. I had said I'll leave my place at around 9:30, and by 9:30, yes, I was ready. Uh, what got lost was my sock. So the socks I was supposed to wear, uh, I only found one of it, one of the sock. The other sock was lost. And when I finally found it, I couldn't find my padlock. So you see, the and when I found the padlock, and I can't leave my house open, and when I finally found it, um, I couldn't find. I left without my ID, which cost me, which I'll mention. So the next thing is research. I hadn't researched about where I was going to get interviewed. Like, I had just received calls. This was in one place. I had received a call, and they told me come to this place in Thika. Yeah, so I got out of my house. I went to town. I didn't know where to board the matatus. So that was it. I called the person who was my interviewer and told him that I might be late. Which, you see, that is not, it's not good to do that. I'm sure it costed me a lot. So after that, I reached the place. I had forgotten my ID, which I had said. I had forgotten my ID, and the gatekeeper couldn't allow me to get into the building without identifying myself. I think that day I really disturbed the interviewer, because I called him like almost how many times, because when I was at town, then when calling the gatekeeper, and finally when I had arrived, telling him I'm at his office. So I'm sure those cost me a lot. And in fact, I didn't even know the name of the company. So I knew the name of the person who was interviewing me, and where the location I was supposed to go. So it cost me a lot. Next is punctuality. Uh, um, I have always had an issue with the time. You see, uh, I'm not good at keeping time. Like, I'll get out at the last minute and then rush to that place. And most of those times, not even when going for interviews, even in my normal life, if you see me, you'll find me running to a place because I got out at the last minute. So so what happened that for this interview, yes, I had done my research, I had prepared well, I got out on time, but then the matatu uh, trouble. It took time to get full. So that was another issue, and I'm sure it costed me a lot. Uh, and by the way, on the point of research, you need to research on the company, like the company you're going to work in. Make sure you look at the values and make sure they align to what you want. Yeah, so I'm sure if I could have researched, I would have asked better questions when the time came. So the next one is know what you're going to apply for. Yes, I'm skilled at web development, but with React, PHP, Django, and the stuff like that. So there was this place I applied for. They wanted an Angular developer, and I didn't read the description because I was just sending out batches of my application letters. I sent it to that place, and they called me for an interview. So they wanted Angular developers, and when they asked me if I had ever used Angular, I said no, and that I didn't even say I could learn, which that is one thing I was later told that is a good thing to tell. Even if you've not used it, it's nice to say that you can learn, because everybody is like, all recruiters are looking for people who can learn. So the next thing is uh, know where you're applying to, because how can I put it? Uh, the place you're applying to, you need to know it and make sure you can commute to that place, because there was this place I applied for, a place for an internship in Nyeri, and that was in April, and I was called for an interview. So you see, uh, it was in Nyeri and I live in Nairobi, so there was a lot of I couldn't get there, which I'm sure, yeah. So this concludes it for the first part of this video. If you want the second part, you can check it out in the video too. I'll be posting it soon.